Do you ever feel like your English is trapped inside a textbook? You know hundreds of words, you get the grammar rules, but when you actually try to speak, it feels like you're a robot. The words come out stiff, unnatural, and slow. You can read, you can listen, but you just can't connect. That perfect, flowing conversation you have in your head completely vanishes the moment you open your mouth, leaving you with awkward pauses in that frustrating feeling that you're not showing your true personality. That was my student Alex. For years, he was the perfect student on paper. He aced every grammar test, and his vocabulary lists were pages long. But in a real conversation, he'd freeze. He felt like he was performing complex math problems in his head, translating word for word instead of just talking to another person. He was so frustrated he was ready to give up completely. He started to believe that maybe, just maybe, he didn't have the gene for speaking English fluently. But then he found a method that had nothing to do with grammar drills or vocabulary lists. A method that wasn't about studying harder, but about learning differently. In this video, I'm going to tell you how Alex ditched the textbooks and used real-world conversations to finally become the confident, natural English speaker he wanted to be. His journey will show you that the key to unlocking your voice isn't in a book, it's out in the real world, just waiting for you to join the conversation. Section 1. The inciting incident, the wall of frustration. Alex's aha moment, or maybe his breaking point, didn't happen in a classroom. It happened at a casual neighborhood barbecue. A colleague had invited him, and he was determined to make it a success. He spent a week practicing. He reviewed conversation starters from his textbook, memorized phrases about the weather, and even rehearsed a few interesting facts about his job. He felt prepared. He felt ready. He arrived, grabbed a drink, and found himself next to a small group of people laughing. One of them, a friendly woman named Sarah, turned to him and smiled. "Hey, I don't think we've met. I'm Sarah. What a great party, huh?" This was it, the moment he'd prepared for. Alex's mind went into overdrive. Okay, textbook rule number 1, greet the person, state your name, comment on the situation. "Hello," he said, his voice a bit too loud, a bit too formal. "My name is Alex. Yes, this party is satisfactory." A brief, confused silence hung in the air. "Satisfactory?" Sarah repeated, a slight smile on her lips. Yeah, it's great. So, what do you do, Alex?" Again, the mental gears started grinding. She has asked about my profession. I must use the present simple tense. I am an engineer. He stated it like he was announcing a fact in a science report. "I work for a technology company. We design microchips." Sarah nodded slowly. "Oh, wow, that sounds complicated." She paused, searching for a way to keep the conversation alive. "So, do you live around here?" It was a simple question, but for Alex, it was another complex equation to solve. He knew the words, he knew the grammar, but the flow just wasn't there. He was so focused on being correct that he forgot to be real. He answered her question, but the conversation felt like a series of disconnected facts. Every time he spoke, he could feel the energy drain from the group. The easy, flowing chat they were having moments before had turned into a slow, painful interview with him as the subject. The final blow came when someone told a funny story about a disastrous camping trip. Everyone erupted in laughter. Alex understood the story. He even thought it was funny. But by the time he had formulated the correct response in his head, something like, "That sounds like a very unfortunate but humorous experience," the moment was gone. The group had moved on, and he was left standing there, silent, an outsider in a circle of friends. He spent the rest of the party on the sidelines, nursing his drink as a familiar wave of shame and frustration washed over him. All those hours studying, all those vocabulary apps, all those grammar exercises. For what? To stand silently at a party, unable to do the one thing he wanted to do most? Just talk to people. That night, Alex went home and stared at his bookshelf filled with English textbooks. He saw them for what they were, a collection of rules and lists that had built a perfect cage around his ability to communicate. They had taught him the what of English, but not the how. They had given him the ingredients for a cake, but no recipe. He realized the enemy wasn't his memory or his intelligence. The enemy was the method. It was textbook English, and the belief that knowing a language is the same as speaking it. And in that moment of pure frustration, he decided he was done with textbook English. He was going to find another way, or he was going to give up for good. That decision, born from the awkward silence at a party, was the beginning of his real journey to fluency.
Section 2. The Journey. A New Path. Alex's journey didn't start with some grand plan. It started with a simple, almost radical idea. What if he stopped studying English and just started using it? He decided to treat language not like a school subject, but like a living, breathing tool. He was tired of feeling like a student taking a test. He wanted to feel like a person having a conversation. This mindset shift changed everything. He broke his new approach down into stages, mirroring the natural way we all learn to speak. He was starting over as a beginner, but this time on his own terms. Part 1. The Beginner's Mindset, Finding His Voice Alone. Alex knew his biggest hurdle was the fear of speaking, the fear of making mistakes, of being judged, of that awful, awkward silence. So he decided to start in the safest space imaginable, his own apartment. He had to get used to the physical act of making English sounds without the pressure of a listener. His first new habit was simple. He started talking to himself. It felt weird at first, but he stuck with it. He would narrate his day out loud like he was a character in a movie. Okay, I'm waking up now. I'm going to the kitchen to make some coffee. I really need this coffee. It smells good. He was essentially practicing for one of the most common questions in any language. So, how was your day? It was simple, it was full of mistakes, and it was often slow. But the stakes were zero. No one was there to judge him. He was just getting his mouth, tongue, and brain used to the rhythm of speaking English. Next, he turned to technology, but not the flashcard apps he used to drill. Instead, he found a new, unlikely practice partner, his phone's AI assistant. He'd ask it questions he might ask a real person. Hey Siri, what's the weather like in London today? Alexa, can you tell me a joke? Okay Google, how do you make scrambled eggs? The AI didn't care if his pronunciation wasn't perfect or if his grammar was a little off. It just responded. It was like a game, but every time he played, he was building the pathways for conversational English. But the most transformative technique he found in this phase was shadowing. He'd read about this method where you imitate a native speaker in real time, just like a shadow. He decided to try it not with complicated news reports, but with something much easier: kids shows and animated movies. The language is designed to be clear, simple, and repetitive. He'd put on a show with English subtitles and pick one character to shadow. He'd listen to a line, then immediately repeat it, trying to mimic the speaker's exact intonation, rhythm, and emotion. "Where are we going?" the character would ask, their voice full of curiosity. "Where are we going?" Alex would repeat, trying to match that same upward inflection. "I have a great idea," the character would exclaim. "I have a great idea," Alex would echo, pushing that same energy into his voice. He wasn't just saying words. He was practicing the music of English. This was a revelation. Textbooks had taught him notes, but shadowing was teaching him how to play a song. He started feeling the natural flow of sentences and noticing things he'd never learned from a book, like, "What are you doing?" often sounds like "what you doing" in casual conversation. He also started recording himself on his phone. Listening back was a little cringy at first, but it was incredibly valuable. It gave him direct feedback without needing a teacher. He could hear the difference between the native speaker and himself, and he could try again, making tiny adjustments. He was becoming his own coach. In this first stage, Alex didn't have a single conversation with another person, but he was speaking English more than he ever had. He was building vocal confidence, moving the language from his head to his mouth. He was proving to himself that he could make the sounds and form the sentences. He was no longer just a student of English, he was a user of English. And that was the most important first step.
Part 2. The Intermediate's Breakthrough. Entering the Arena. After a few weeks of practicing alone, Alex felt a shift. Speaking English wasn't so terrifying anymore. It was becoming a habit. Now it was time for the next step, moving from monologue to dialogue. He knew he needed to talk to real people, but he wanted to do it in a controlled, supportive environment. He wasn't quite ready for another barbecue party. He dipped his toes into real conversation through structured online lessons focused on specific, real-life topics. His first session was about travel. The teacher gave him some useful vocabulary, but the main part of the lesson was a guided conversation. "Where is a place you would love to travel to, and why?" the teacher asked. Old Alex would have panicked, his mind racing to build the perfect sentence. New Alex took a breath and just focused on getting the idea out. "I would love to go Japan," he said slowly. "I want to see the temples in Kyoto and eat real sushi." It wasn't perfect. He missed a couple of small words, but the teacher didn't correct his grammar. Instead, she responded to what he actually said. "Oh, Japan is a wonderful choice. Kyoto is beautiful. What do you know about the temples there?" The conversation kept going. For Alex, this was a huge win. He had communicated an idea, and someone understood and responded. He realized communication wasn't about perfection. It was about connection. These structured conversations let him practice speaking spontaneously in a safe setting, building his confidence one chat at a time. Feeling bolder, Alex looked for more opportunities. He discovered language exchange apps like HelloTalk and Tandem, which connected him with native English speakers wanting to learn his language. He started with text messages, a comfortable bridge from writing to speaking. Soon, he was trading voice messages with a university student from California named Chloe. It was asynchronous, which meant he could take his time to think and even re-record if he felt nervous. Chloe was incredibly patient. She'd talk about her day, her studies, her cat. Alex would listen and send a message back describing his day. They corrected each other's mistakes gently, but mostly they just talked. Chloe didn't care that his grammar wasn't perfect. She was just excited to hear about his life in another country. And that taught him a crucial lesson. Most native speakers aren't grammar police waiting to judge you. They're just people, and they're usually happy to help and interested in what you have to say. As his confidence grew, it was time for the next challenge: live, unplanned conversation. He joined an online English speaking club he found on social media. The first time he logged into the video call, his heart was pounding. There were about 10 other faces on the screen from all over the world. The facilitator posted a topic in the chat. "What is a skill you would like to learn?" People started talking, and for a few minutes, Alex just listened, soaking in the flow. Then the facilitator gently prompted him, "Alex, what about you?" Every instinct told him to pass, but he thought about the barbecue. He took a breath. "I want to learn how to bake bread," he said. A woman from Brazil smiled. "Oh, me too.
I tried once, but my kitchen was a disaster, flour everywhere. Someone else chimed in, "You should watch the Great British Bake Off. It's so inspiring." Suddenly, Alex was part of a real conversation. He wasn't a student being tested. He was a person sharing an interest. He talked about the kind of bread he wanted to make. He laughed. For the first time, he wasn't just speaking English. He was socializing in English. This stage was all about building momentum. He was using different tools for different skills, structured lessons for topic vocabulary, podcasts for listening, and voice chats for real interaction. He was learning to think on his feet and to focus on the message, not just the grammar. He was moving from the safety of his apartment to the arena of real communication and discovering he was far more capable than he ever thought possible.
Section 3. The climax, the full circle conversation. A year had passed since that awful barbecue. His colleague was hosting it again. When the invitation popped up, Alex didn't feel dread. He felt a flicker of nervous excitement. This was his chance to see how far he'd come. This was his full circle moment. He arrived, not with rehearsed lines, but with a simple goal, to be curious and to listen. He grabbed a drink and, as if the universe has a sense of humor, found himself near the same group as last time. And there was Sarah. She smiled, a hint of recognition in her eyes. "Hey, it's Alex, right? Good to see you again." Old Alex's brain would have started worrying. Formal greeting, state fact. New Alex just smiled back. "Hey, Sarah. Yeah, great to see you too. You can't keep me away from a good barbecue." The casual, slightly funny reply immediately set a different mood. Sarah laughed. "I hear you. So, how have you been? Still doing the complicated microchip stuff?" "Still at it," Alex said with a shrug. "But honestly, it's probably less complicated than trying to figure out what to watch on Netflix these days. That's the real challenge." Someone else in the group chuckled. "Tell me about it. I spent an hour scrolling yesterday and just gave up." And just like that, he was in. He hadn't used a complex sentence or big vocabulary word. He used humor and a relatable frustration. He connected. The conversation flowed. They talked about TV shows, and Alex mentioned a documentary he'd just seen. He used a phrase from his journal. It was about the future of cities, and a crucial factor they kept coming back to was sustainable energy. It really gave me some food for thought. He wasn't just stating facts, he was sharing his perspective. Later, the topic shifted to travel. Someone mentioned Italy. Sarah turned to Alex. "What about you, Alex? Any travel plans on the horizon?" A year ago, this question would have sent him into a mental spiral. Now, he was relaxed. "Funnily enough, I was just looking at tickets to Japan last week. I've always wanted to go, but I'm still on the fence about whether to go in the spring for the cherry blossoms or in the fall for the autumn colors. What do you guys think?" He had not only answered the question, but he had also seamlessly used an idiom and turned it back to the group, inviting them in. That's the essence of real conversation. It's a dance, not a performance. The rest of the evening was a blur of easy, fun conversations. He talked about building design with an architect, he debated pizza topping with another guest, he listened to a story about a DIY project gone wrong and laughed at the right moments, chiming in with, "Oh, that's a total nightmare. I've been there." He wasn't translating, he wasn't calculating, he was just being himself. He was present, funny, and insightful. But the most telling moment came near the end of the night. He was talking to Sarah again, and she said, "You know, it's really great talking to you, Alex. You have such an interesting way of looking at things." That compliment landed with a weight that no test score ever could. She wasn't complimenting his grammar or his vocabulary. She was complimenting him, his thoughts, his personality. For the first time, he felt truly seen and understood in English. Walking home that night, he didn't feel shame or frustration. He felt a quiet, deep sense of accomplishment. He had faced the exact situation that once broke him, and he hadn't just survived, he had thrived. The barbecue wasn't a test anymore. It was just a party, and he was no longer a student trying to pass. He was just a person connecting with other people, in a whole new language.
Part 3. The Advanced Speaker's Polish, Achieving Natural Fluency. Alex had come a long way. He could handle most everyday conversations without that old, crippling fear. But he started to notice a new, more subtle gap. He could communicate, but he didn't always sound natural. He was still sometimes translating in his head, and his language was more functional than flavorful. He wanted to close that final gap between being understood and truly connecting. His first goal was to stop translating and start thinking in English. He knew that as long as he was thinking in his native language first, he'd always be a step behind. To break the habit, he adopted a total immersion at home strategy. He changed the language on his phone, his computer, and all his social media to English. He started rewatching his favorite TV shows, the ones where he already knew the plot, but with English audio and English subtitles. This combination was powerful. It connected the spoken word to the written word in a natural, entertaining context. He also upgraded his listening material. He moved from sitcoms to more complex content like documentaries, news panels, and deep dive discussions on YouTube. The language was faster and more academic. At first, it was a challenge, but he was no longer just listening for the plot. He was listening for how people expressed complex ideas. He paid attention to the phrases they used to structure arguments and express nuanced opinions. He started a phrase journal, but instead of single words, he wrote down entire chunks of language he heard. Instead of just important, he'd write down a crucial factor to consider, or that's a huge part of it. This led him to his next focus, mastering idiomatic and natural expressions. Textbooks teach formal English, but native speakers use a rich tapestry of idioms, phrasal verbs, and slang. He realized that not using these didn't just make him sound less natural, it sometimes meant he was missing the real meaning. So he started hunting for them. When he heard Chloe, his language partner, say, "I'm on the fence about that," he didn't just guess, he asked her, "What does 'on the fence' mean?" She explained it meant she was undecided. Alex wrote it in his journal, then he looked for a low-stakes chance to use it. The next time they talked, he said, "I've heard good and bad things about that movie. I'm a bit on the fence about seeing it." Chloe's natural response, "Oh, yeah, why's that?" was proof he'd used it correctly. He was learning the language as a living system. Soon phrases like "at the end of the day," "to get the hang of something," and "it's not my cup of tea" became part of his toolkit. Finally, to build stamina and spontaneity, he started doing quick-fire Q&A sessions. He'd use a random question generator online and give himself 1 minute to answer a question out loud. "What is your opinion on artificial intelligence?" Or, "If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?" This exercise forced him to think and speak at the same time, to form ideas and express them without a script. It built his mental agility and the confidence to handle any topic that came his way. In this advanced stage, Alex was no longer just learning, he was refining. He was moving from a black and white picture to full-color HD. By immersing himself in real-world English, collecting natural phrases, and practicing spontaneous speech, he was bridging the final gap. He was becoming an English speaker, finding his own voice and personality within the language.
Alex's story isn't about some secret trick. It's a journey from frustration to fluency, built on one simple idea. You learn to speak by speaking. He proved that the path to natural, confident English isn't memorizing rules, it's real-world practice. His journey can be your journey. It starts by changing your mindset. Let go of the fear of making mistakes. Mistakes aren't failures, they're proof that you're trying. They are the stepping stones to fluency. Let's quickly recap the steps you can take from Alex's journey starting today. If you're a beginner, start in your safe space. Your mission is to build vocal confidence. Narrate your day. Talk to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing. It feels silly, but it builds the muscle memory for speaking. Use your AI assistant. Ask your phone or smart speaker questions. It's a zero-pressure conversation partner that's available 24/7. Shadow children's shows mimic the simple, clear language in cartoons to master the natural rhythm and intonation of English. This is about learning the music, not just the words. If you're at an intermediate level, it's time to enter the arena. Your goal is to build conversational momentum. Find a language exchange partner. Use apps like Tandem or HelloTalk. Start with voice messages, then move to live calls. Join a speaking club. Find an online group that discusses topics you're interested in. It's the perfect place to practice spontaneous conversation in a supportive environment. Practice common topics. Use resources that focus on conversations about things like travel, work, or hobbies to build the specific vocabulary you'll actually need. And if you're an advanced learner, your focus is on polishing your English until it sounds natural. Think in English. Immerse yourself. Change your device languages. Watch movies with English subtitles. Your goal is to close the gap between thinking and speaking. Become a phrase collector. Listen for idioms, phrasal verbs, and natural expressions in podcasts and documentaries. Write them down, and most importantly, practice using them. Practice spontaneous speaking. Challenge yourself with random question prompts. This builds the mental agility to talk about any topic, anytime. The most important lesson here is that progress happens outside your comfort zone. It happens when you stop being a passive student and become an active participant. The real magic isn't in a textbook. It's in the messy, unpredictable, and wonderful world of real conversation. So I have a challenge for you. Don't just watch this video and move on. Start today. Your first step doesn't have to be big. Just choose one thing from this list. Maybe you'll narrate your actions while making dinner tonight. Maybe you'll finally download that language exchange app. Make a commitment. In the comments below, write, "I'm starting today," and declare that you are officially on your journey from textbook English to real, confident speaking. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more strategies to help you unlock your English fluency. Stop studying, start speaking. I'll see you in the next video.